I've been working from home for a long time now, and over that time I've had a lot of different setups, or tried a lot of different setups. I've had, super premium ones, stripped back minimal setup, heavy setups, and what I've learned is that productivity isn't about, really for me anyway, having the best setup. It's more about removing friction. And right now my biggest constraint isn't really performance, it's actually space. The desk that I was using before was the IKEA Colby, along with some electric legs or standing legs that I bought from eBay, and I really liked the look of this desk. It really had like a premium feel to it. But the challenge was that it didn't really fit the room, it didn't really fit the space. The needs of the room sort of changed over time, and the electric legs actually stopped working. So at that point I had a bit of a decision to make. It was either fix something that didn't really fit the room, or take a step back and look at like an intentional downgrade. And so I chose the downgrade option. So the new desk is a cheap IKEA desk. I can't remember the name of it exactly, but I will leave it in the description below. And it's an absolutely no frills, no features. And what I've done is added some legs to it, which are on casters. Now at first, to be honest, it did feel like a little bit of a compromise, but actually that's turned out to be a feature. So because I make videos for YouTube like this one, flexibility matters to me rather than performance. I can move the desk easily, I can reposition it for filming, and really I can change the layout of the room in minutes. This isn't by no means a forever desk, but it is doing the job of what I need it to do now. And there is something actually quite freeing about that. And I used to think a desk had to feel heavy for it to feel productive, sort of like anchored within the space. This one obviously moves, and weirdly, it makes the space feel a lot lighter, almost like less precious, less static. So for the monitor situation, I did have this really old 1080p monitor that I haven't used for maybe around a year now. And for the type of work that I do, where it's like designing, video editing, planning, it's really not suitable or ideal. So instead what I'm going to do is work directly from my MacBook Pro M2 with a 14-inch screen. And I know what you're thinking straight away. For like designing, video editing, that's probably the last thing that I want to be doing, but it is probably the best monitor right now, and that is what is important. And what I've learned the hard way in the past is that, especially using that older monitor for design work, is that using the wrong monitor is worse, really, for me, than no monitor at all. And I do notice it every day. It's like the sharpness, the scaling, the fatigue. So instead of rushing into a replacement straight away, what I'm going to do is just use the MacBook for the time being. As I say, it's not ideal, but then what I'm going to do is just keep an eye on what Apple's doing. I have heard that they're releasing some new monitors potentially in 2026. So again, I'll see what happens in that space, and then any other monitors that come out as well from different brands. So this setup really isn't about locking things in at this moment. It's about buying me some time with the least amount of friction. So the MacBook Pro is the constant. As I mentioned, it's the MacBook Pro M2 14-inch, and it is and continues to be an absolute workhorse. I use it for everything. So video editing, photo editing, all my design work. Again, it's just a constant, and I can't see myself upgrading anytime soon unless something really drastic changes in the new MacBook lineups. So what I've done is positioned it on a laptop stand just to bring it closer up to eye level. So it's nothing crazy or overcomplicated. It's just like a minor adjustment that makes the world of the difference if you are working specifically from a laptop screen. For input devices, again, I'm keeping it really basic. I've got a Apple Magic Mouse, and I've also got an Apple Magic Keyboard, which are more than perfect for me. I know there's some complaints about the Magic Mouse and the ergonomics of it, but I've never had an issue whatsoever. And I absolutely love how it does integrate into Mac OS. So using the gestures similar to what you would on your phone or your iPad, and again, it just sort of really works for my setup. So one thing that has stayed consistent is the chair. So I'm using the IKEA Marcus, and it's a really reliable, comfy chair. It's nothing new or fancy or what you consider one of the content chairs, these really good desk setups, but it does the job and it supports my back, especially during long working sessions. And this is the sort of theme of this transitional desk setup, is that if I don't need to change it or upgrade it for the sake of it and it's doing the job, then I'm not going to. And again, I just think it's a really, really solid chair. One thing that I do find interesting, wasn't expecting when I was downgrading, is almost like the constraint of space. So I am more intentional when, you know, I'm using my laptop, the amount of tabs that I've got open, the amount of applications or windows. It's just one of those things where you're almost like adapting to the constraints that you've got. And it's really helped, I feel, with my productivity and overall focus. I don't think this approach is for everyone, but it is a good reminder that for productivity, it doesn't always have to be about adding to your setup. I think sometimes there's a lot missing in removing things and going back to basics. Because the desk moves, the room moves with it, so I can clear space quickly depending on what I'm doing, if it's like filming, editing. So the desk really doesn't dictate the behavior. In fact, the motivation or the activity, what I'm doing does, and that really works for me. So the setup definitely isn't finished, and it's really important to say that in 2026, I will 100% be upgrading this desk again. And I'll also be upgrading the monitor. I just don't know what that looks like yet. I think setups are by nature seasonal, and when you do have more space and more budget, it doesn't really mean that that's going to work for you later on. And I think permanence actually can sometimes be a little bit of a detriment to that. But right now, this supports exactly where I am, and I'm fine with that. If you found a desk or a monitor that really reflects that premium aesthetic and would work really well in a calm, minimal space, then let me know. I'm always on the lookout, just not rushing into it. This is my current desk setup. It is a downgrade, but it is intentional, and it definitely works for this next season. I'll probably share updates on this desk setup as it changes over time. That's usually over on Instagram or X, and if you want to stick around, you can subscribe.